Good day and
Hi, good
welcome.
afternoon.
Good afternoon, everybody. So, today is an exciting day. It's the first time that I am going live on LinkedIn and on YouTube. And I also have with me an amazing colleague, amazing friend to come and have a discussion on something that is of great importance to small business owners, to Caribbean businesses, to supervisors, managers, CEOs. This is a conversation that you really want to ensure that you pay attention to. So before I go any further, allow me to introduce myself. My name is Dana Hayes-Burke. I am known as a vision builder in my community because I serve as a vision strategist and business coach, helping persons to build stronger, more profitable businesses and to be productive in doing so. With me, I have the amazing Leekeesha Duncan. And Leekeesha, I would love for you to introduce yourself to the people.
Hi, good afternoon. Thank you, Dana. So I am Leekeesha Duncan, known as the Playback Training. I specialize in HR training. I am passionate about training and development. I am a facilitator of learning and transferring of knowledge. I really take joy in seeing people grow and develop in that area.
Yes, lovely. So today, what we're going to be talking about, I think it's right up both of our alleys, and it is the idea of the Great Resignation. And should Caribbean businesses care? The Great Resignation and should Caribbean businesses care? And that is something that we've been hearing more about globally. And now we want to talk about it in our context because I feel like there's a lot that has happened in this past year. One, we are now working from home. Two, that means that as managers, as supervisors, you have to think about how to manage your staff in a virtual remote environment. And now here comes this trend. And I'm sure that a lot of us have been hearing the term, the Great Resignation, floating about the space, but we're not really 100% sure what it entails, what it's about. So I think that this is a good space for you to give us some perspective on what the Great Resignation is all about.
The Great Resignation, Dana, is really a mass exodus of your best talent from your organization. And it is a trend that started back in 2018, according to American research. About 90% of the best talent began leaving their jobs and going
Hmm.
into their own businesses, setting up their own businesses. And we are seeing that in the Caribbean and the world at large, that it's growing. It's a growing trend in the post-pandemic time. The pandemic, and if we must admit, for most of us here now, we saw ways to reinvent ourselves. We began to
Yes.
understand the talent that we possess and how we can monetize that talent. So leaders have a very tough, tough challenge right now in really maintaining those who are very well talent, maintaining keeping that talent within the organization because they understand their worth, you know.
Yes, definitely. And that's a global perspective, right? We're in an era now where employees are taking back their power. And I think what happened in the pandemic is that we all learned what we could live without. In times past, in previous dispensations and previous eras, we would have had an idea in our minds that having a job, having a certain level of high paying job, is the thing that will allow us and afford us to have all these luxuries in life. And then COVID-19 happened and luxuries were not available, period. And we recognize that we can live without a whole bunch of things. So this is a global perspective. The question now is, will it impact us in the Caribbean? Has it started impacting us in the Caribbean? Now, in my opinion, I think that it has already started happening. And if we have not seen it happen in its full extent as yet, it is simply to look at a number of employees that have chosen to start businesses during the pandemic. What does that tell you? It tells you that they're looking for their way out. They're looking to take their talent and say, you know what, I could work for myself.
Yes.
So it means that in the Caribbean, we cannot think to ourselves that the old school mentality, the old school mindset of they're going to never leave can continue to influence the way that we make decisions. The great resignation, take this as your notice. The great resignation has started in the Caribbean. The issue now is, what can we do about it? So let's go a little bit further in terms of this whole resignation, this mass resignation that is happening. Basically, the increasing trend of people choosing to leave their jobs. Who is most likely to leave, in your opinion?
The millennials and the Gen Zs. You know, we are, well, the millennials, and I'll call myself a millennial, we are in that generation, that transitional generation where the meaning of work has changed for us. I mean, we don't
Yes,
just work for a salary, we want more than that. And, what a job is for us. I heard someone say a job is just over broke. We understand the power we have as employees. Whereas our ancestors, our parents, they didn't know that, they didn't have that awareness of the power
yes.
they possessed as an employee. But we know and we understand that. And what we demand, though, as millennials, is that respect and that room to grow and develop within the organization. And when we don't have that, then,
Absolutely. And here's the thing, right? We are the generation that had easier access to tertiary education.
I'm about to say
We
that.
Yeah,
Mhm.
so we are now the ones with global perspectives, global mindsets. We have made those shifts. And as you rightly said, we understand our power. Now, here's the danger. This is why, as Caribbean businesses, if you are looking on and you're a CEO, you are a manager, if you own your own business and you have employees under you, this is the thing that you have to understand. Who you are likely to lose is your best talent, not necessarily the management talent that you currently have, but the best talent who will be able to take your business into the
Into
future.
the future.
Into the future. They're the ones who can be your app developers, the ones who can be the ones who help you to automate your systems, the ones who can help you to understand the mindset of the consumer today, which is different to the mindset of the consumer yesterday. Those are the ones that you are likely to lose. And why are you likely to lose them? Because you're not appreciating them. So there is something in the mindset of the best talent, the best future talent that you can hone, who will now leave. Because I'm one of those. I think I was pre-great resignation. I left my job and I've left my job 8 years ago. And September would be 8 years. And the reason that I left is exactly what you're talking about: wanting meaning in your work, wanting to build your own legacy, wanting certain levels of flexibility and freedom. And the reason that we cannot say that we are isolated from this is that in the pandemic, all of the things that we said, and I remember this from in school, in
Yes.
my school days, all the things we said couldn't happen. Remote working cannot happen in the Caribbean.
Virtual meetings can't happen.
Virtual meetings cannot
We
happen.
can't supervise our staff in a virtual reality.
Well, looky here.
Productivity cannot be achieved in the virtual world.
Well, look at it now, right? 18 months later, here we are remotely supervising, remotely communicating, remotely working. So now what I observe happening is that a lot of businesses are going to try to go back to the old normal. But you can't catch the horse after it
It
bolted
is
from the
bolted.
stable. It's very difficult, right? So it means that you now need to understand the mindset of the best talent and what they're looking for. So, why should Caribbean businesses care? Caribbean businesses need to care because we are not exempt. What we need to understand is in our region, we experience things in a delayed manner, but inevitably it gets to us. So, really, the delay that happens in terms of things showing up for us means that we have time to fix some things so that we don't fall victim to the great resignation. What do you think, Leekeesha?
I totally agree. And we saw it with the pandemic. It is because of what took place abroad, we were able to control it right here in Trinidad and Tobago. Think about how our leaders reacted or controlled the spread of the virus. And I agree, it gives us that lag time to
Mm.
introduce some of the methods and measures that we can effectively implement to maintain or to keep our best talent, because we don't want our best talent to leave our organization. And as you said,
Yes.
they are the ones who will take us into the future of work. And the fourth industrial revolution is already here, and we
Boom.
need them.
Gosh, I should type that somewhere. The fourth industrial revolution is already here because it's really important for us to understand that this is not the time where staff no longer has power. This is not the time where staff no longer has power. So, therefore, we need to understand what is the mindset of the people that we are trying to lead and trying to keep. So if you were to suggest, Lakeisha, something that we need managers, supervisors, CEOs now need to think about in terms of the mindset of the millennial and Gen Z population, who is the best talent that we're likely to lose, what would you say is the first thing we need to understand about their mindset, our mindset to work?
I think the first thing we should understand is that we seek out meaningful work, work that has an impact, a wider impact, something that is purposeful. We don't just want a paycheck, we want to know that we are working for a greater good.
Yes, definitely, and that's it, meaning and work. And why you feel that's important? For me, I think it's important because what happened is that we looked on at our parents, we looked at our grandparents working, slaving, basically spending the best years of their lives working, and then at the end of it, trying to figure out what did I do the right thing with my life? What was it all for? We've seen that play out, and therefore we don't want that to happen to ourselves. So the lesson that we took away from the baby boomers and they is don't do that don't do that to yourself. So we're looking for meaning, um and we're looking for fulfillment in work. I think that we're also looking to have a positive impact. That's one thing that people talk about all the time, purpose. Even in their place of employment, you want to know that the job that I have is purposeful. It's making a difference. I remember you were saying that, our generation is very, really rise of advocacy really came. And I didn't even think about that. What do you think? Like, why is it purpose and advocacy such a big thing for us?
I think we began to understand the injustices of the world, and the education that we received empowered us to understand and also to implement, well, not even implement, but create solutions injustices in our own mind. And we understood the
Mm-hmm.
system, how the systems work, and how we ourselves can change the system. I don't think the baby boomers thought that the systems could have changed. They adhered, they accepted it,
Yes,
but the power that we got through education and that empowerment suggested to us, hey, this is not the only way it works. There are other ways in which this can work and produce benefits for all, not just for a selected few.
absolutely. Absolutely. And the thing about it is that our generation also grew up in a time where information about things that's going on around the world is more readily available. So that whole spirit of advocacy, now it doesn't just happen in our local environment. You can have, you're involved in global movements. You're involved. So for instance, have in the pandemic, we had the entire George Floyd situation. It would seem that that is happening in the US. But what was the ripple effect? We started looking in the Caribbean at, is there representation in these companies that we work for? Is there diversity? What are we seeing? Who are the faces that we're seeing and who are the faces that we're not seeing? And people started demanding visibility for certain groups, right? And that's just that. So if you are a manager, you can no longer say that this doesn't matter. You can no longer say that, well, that is outside there, and what happens inside here is another thing. No, that is not going to work in this time, because the person that you are trying to retain and to keep to do what you need them to do, they are looking around and saying, but you don't speak on this. Your company has no policy on that. All of this was going on. What did my CEO say concerning this? Those are big things, and we have clear examples in Trinidad. Cancel culture happened for a few businesses in Trinidad because of that, right? So we have to understand that people are looking for purpose. The people who are leaving, they're looking for purpose. What's another thing you think that they're looking for in terms of the mindset of the people who are likely to leave?
They are looking for autonomy and flexibility. I feel gone are the days when employers have a high-handed, or should practice a high-handed approach to the supervision of their staff. Give me the goal and let me achieve it. You know, trust me that I understand the parameters of the organization and that I will represent its culture, its core values. But tell me the goal, give me the goal, and allow me to achieve it. So we want
Yes.
autonomy, we want flexibility, and that's who we are.
And with autonomy, it really ties back directly to the purpose, the meaning, and fulfillment. Because after I've done the job, I also want to be recognized for it. I want to be recognized for my contribution. In a lot of organizational cultures, of course, leaders get work done through their people, but then the leader should also commend and compliment and recognize their people. But unfortunately, in a lot of our environments, that doesn't happen. After, Leekeesha slaves and she does the 50-page report, the manager goes and takes all the credit without as much as a thank you or some level of recognition to the person who actually executed it. So those are some of the challenges. Those are some of the reasons that people are willing to leave. The fact that as an employer, as a supervisor, you don't have empathy. That's a big thing. You don't have empathy for what people are going through. And, I've had conversations with folks who work in different spaces. And that lack of empathy, they rather go find somewhere, some other remote job, work for somewhere in the US from Trinidad and not have to deal with that. Because why? Other mindset is that the world is limitless.
We have options.
Definitely, we have options. I can go to Australia and work if I like. Like, you can't. It's very easy to move labor. There was a time we went through in Trinidad and Tobago. We went through the brain drain. I don't think people realize how close we are to going through that again, where your most skilled, your most educated, your most talented people are likely to leave because the mindsets that they have are not being honored in the mindset of the people that they're working for.
And that speaks to leadership. How are we leading?
Yes,
How are we leading this group of individuals who desire more? I mean, we'll leave it
absolutely.
for another live when we talk about leadership and culture, but
Yes.
there must be a shift in our leadership culture.
So this is the beginning of the conversation, as Lakeisha just said. We are going to be doing 4 lives on the Great Resignation. This is the first one. And on the next occasion, we're actually going to continue this conversation and go into the leadership culture. So what I would love for you to do, if you are looking on live or you're looking at the replay, tag a few persons. Let them join the conversation. We would love to hear your thoughts on some of these things that we have shared. We would love to hear some of your experiences. Have you been seeing the markers of the Great Resignation in your own company? And please be sure to connect with us, connect with me. You can find me as Dana Hayes-Burke on LinkedIn. Connect with Leekeesha. You will find her as Leekeesha Duncan on LinkedIn. Let us know your thoughts and your perspectives. Let us start this conversation so that we can use the lag time of experiencing the Great Resignation to make it lead time so that we can actually keep our best talents. So thank you so much, everybody. Thank you, Leekeesha, for joining me. This was a lovely conversation, and I'm looking forward to continuing this series with you. We will be here again next Thursday at 12 noon. So that's 12 noon Eastern Standard Time. We will be doing this conversation. And as I said, if you miss it, you can catch the replay and definitely share it with your colleagues, share it with your friends, share it who are in HR and trying to find solutions. This conversation is to help you to do that. All right, everybody, have a good one. Bye.
Bye.